All right, folks, welcome back to the Red Ass Podcast. We do have a very special guest on today, of course. If you want to go ahead and introduce our guest, Roy, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so, sometimes we touch on, on Premier League stuff, and I know that not everybody out there listens to Premier League stuff, but today we brought on a really awesome guest. He's an Aggie class of 95 guy. It's Fernando Palomo, and he's an ESPN broadcaster. He has, you still have Fuera de Juego, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
and that's what the most popular show on Deportes since like 06.
I'd like to think it is. It is the most popular in the Palomo household. That's what it is.
Fair enough.
Well, so we wanted to bring him on because we're going to do something a little bit more kind of Premier League and football, just not American football, but more football oriented today. And we're going to talk to Fernando a little bit just about being an ag. Like I said, he's class of 95, and you would think that he was in broadcast journalism, but he was an athlete. He was on track. So a couple things I want to touch on. Then we're going to let him talk for a little bit. So he threw the javelin, which is one thing I always wish I could have done, but it was outlawed in Texas when I was growing up, at the high school level. Huh. But he is the El Salvador. You still hold the national record, correct, for javelin?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Still on, which I don't know if it's good still. I mean, it's been 22 years since I said that, and I don't know if it says anything about the way we have progressed, but that's another topic for another day.
That's fair.
And one thing I did find, and I want to bring this up, and I also wanted to congratulate you, is that you're one of 7 recipients for the 2021 NCAA Silver Anniversary Award, right?
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, it recognizes individuals on the 25th anniversary of the conclusion of their college athletic careers. And let's see, you had an all Southwest Conference mark of, or third best at 237 feet, 1 inch and 96. You can beat it for El Salvador, won 8 national titles. Yeah. And so it says the mark still stands for 72.7 meters and 98.
It still stands. I'm telling you. And I'm kind of pushing for it to go, I'm sponsoring a club in El Salvador, a truck club in El Salvador, and I've told the coach that she better go out there and find a good javelin thrower because it's a good prize for whoever breaks that thing. I'm tired of seeing my name over there.
That's fair.
Well, so we want to talk to you and just kind of give us a little bit of background, give the listeners a background just about you and kind of A&M and just kind of how your career trajectory has gone since you really got into broadcast journalism. And don't leave out the FIFA part.
Yeah.
Because that's so cool.
It's huge.
That is cool. Yeah. I can't even believe I still do that thing. I can't believe I did do that. I mean, it's just so amazing, but we'll get into that. So I was born in El Salvador, and I grew up in El Salvador, went to high school in El Salvador, and then I found my place in the world. I mean, I knew that was going to be the college I went to. I knew since my brother went to school at A&M, and he's 13 years older than I am. So I'm the youngest of 7, and so brothers and sisters just started leaving the house before all of a sudden I was all by myself, me and my mom and my dad, and that was it. And they all started leaving the house to go study. But the first one that left was Eduardo, and he went to school at A&M. And first time he came back for Christmas vacation must have been, or probably summer, he brought back all these stories and magazines, and I just fell in love with the place. Without not having been there or set foot in College Station, I knew growing up that was the college I was going to go to, and then college football came about, and the idea of being in such an environment, and then my love for TV, and it all just married itself into I want to be the guy that calls games at that stadium one day. I haven't called anything at Kyle Field except for some PE classes doing their lap test when Kyle Field had at a track, and I used to be at Needham Steed lifting weights and just playing around with folks, just calling the brunette is taking the lead, and like that. But that's all I've called it at Kyle Field. One day that dream will come true. But I grew up understanding that there's a bigger thing happening at a university in a country far away from mine than just going to school, grabbing your backpack and going to classrooms. That there was something else brewing in that place, and that I wanted to be a part of it. So, and that came from my oldest brother, and then he married an Aggie, and then my other brother Fred, who's the closest in age to me, also went to school, and he got in the Corps. So I knew some of the stories and traditions around like regular school life, and then he showed me the Corps activity and what y'all do in the Corps, and I just knew then that I wasn't going to join the Corps, but I was going to go to A&M. There was no way somebody was getting me up at 5 o'clock in the morning, could take a job.
That'll work.
Well, and then you end up in track, and practice times for track are just ridiculous. But
Yeah, well, we used to run past the Corps guys in the morning whenever we went out in morning runs, which didn't happen that often. But being in the track team, by the way, just I knocked on the door in the track team. I walked on the team. They didn't know about me, but I knew about who the coach was, Chico de la Garza, who's still around. He's still coaching there, and I came to the door, and I introduced myself, and I told him that I wanted to go to walk on the team, and he kind of laughed at my standards, at my marks. I didn't cut it to be on the team, but he saw a guy that knew a lot about track and was passionate about it, and he just decided, "Man, at least he might be bad, but he's funny." So I ended up making it into the team that represented A&M at a national championship. So I kind of improved over time.
well, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think I've read this somewhere. You just kind of landed on javelin.
Yeah, well, I started in I wanted to be a decathlete at 13 or 12 or 13 when I started doing track. My dream was to go to the Olympics. And I figured if you go to the Olympics, you don't want to go there for the 100 meters because that's over in 10 seconds, and not my case, right? But
Yeah, I was gonna say about 18 seconds for me, but yeah.
yeah, that's done right away. You're done and dusted, and you leave the track, and that's it. Bye bye. So what can I do that could leave me there for a long time and not, you know, eh, suffer too much? I figured
Yes.
10 events, 10 events over 2 days. You get to see everything. You get to test the long jump pit and the pole vault pit and the high jump, and you're there in the stadium for 2 days at the Olympics. So I'm going to be a decathlete, but I was the slowest of my class. I was probably one of the weakest of my class.
Oh
I
man.
was the most enthusiastic of my class. And in training for the decathlon, I ended up there was one competition that I high jumped higher than I pole vaulted. So the pole vault was kind of like I was, yeah, you laugh, Roy, but it was true. It's true.
That's wow.
Well, I laugh because way back yonder when I used to do track, I was a jumper, and I guarantee you that if I tried pole vault, I still would have high jumped higher than I would have pole vaulted.
Yeah. So one time the pole snapped and hit me right back in the
Oh,
face. So I was like, this is gonna be a relationship that is not gonna go anywhere. So me and the decathlon are not gonna last long. So I
It's
figured,
not
the
me,
1500 meters, that's 3 and 3/4 laps around the track. That's a lot. That for me, that was a lot. So I ended up, just long story short, the javelin was one event in which I improved a lot, and I saw improvement every time I stepped on the track, and that's kind of fun when you're in high school. You see that you go out there and you train, and then you improve a bunch. You don't improve in inches, you improve in feet.
yeah.
And many feet over time. And so I fell in love with the thing, and this is serious. There's very I have not encountered a greatest pleasure in athletics or in sports than seeing the javelin fly when you hit the correct point.
Mm.
I
You know?
I've been in love with the javelin ever since. I mean, growing up, I always watched the Olympics, and I've just been infatuated with the javelin. And I still to this day, if I could pick one up and have somebody train me just to do it just for fun for like a day, I would
It's
do
not
it.
fun. That's the thing, bro. It's a fun event when you get to hit that point, and that javelin just flies, and you feel like you know, uh, I don't know, you've conquered physics, aerodynamics, right? You've conquered it, and you made a little, pound and a half thing, or a long pound and a half stick fly longer than you've had before. But it takes a lot of pounding on you. I mean, there's knee pain, back pain, ankles, elbows, shoulders, all of it. I mean, I've messed up every single part of my skeleton, I think.
Well, I think I'm almost there with you with all the pounding I took in the Army. So we'll have to go out one time and our two old butts can go throw them a little bit.
I can't without. I mean, hats off to you guys. I mean, I couldn't go through a Saturday morning of military. I'm not good at taking like people having screaming at me. I don't know. I was never good with personal trainers either. Like,
Well,
come on, like I'm don't need to scream. I'm here.
it motivates you to get promoted quicker.
Yeah, I
But
bet. I bet.
okay, so
Thanks for your service, by the way, Roy.
yeah, thank you,
I,
bud.
no, thank you seriously.
I'm about that close to retiring, so getting pretty excited. I'll be retiring this year.
What are we doing?
Well, just retiring from the Army. I'm still working.
No, I'm saying, what are we doing to celebrate?
Uh,
Do you celebrate when you retire from the Army?
That's the real question.
Oh yeah. No, it'll be something stupid. You should come in town for it.
I'm always up for something like that.
And the best part is like it's a retirement party, so we're all going to be about our age. Yeah, so it's going to be a whole lot of old farts making terrible decisions, except for unlike in college, we'll really pay for it the next day.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, that's the plan. A lot of steak, a lot of beer, too much beer.
That's what happens. And college was great. I mean, and being part of a team, just being part of a team that represented the school was the best thing that happened to me, because here I am going back, knocking on my coach's door, walking on the team, and knowing that my athletic ability wasn't good to even travel with the team when they went to Waco. Like my first year, they're like, no, you're only doing home meets. So my track team experience my freshman year was just home meets. And then second year was okay. You can get on the bus now, but only in Texas, right? And then to get on that plane and go to the NCAA championships in '96. Nobody gifted that to me, but it was just a push of a coach that, again, quietest man you've ever been around, but the guy knew what to say, which buttons to push, and he truly found something in me that I never knew I had, and for that I'll be eternally grateful. I mean, Juan de la Garza has been a father figure to me. He doesn't know this. He probably doesn't want to know it either. But his lessons are still with me. I mean, the fact that he taught me how to program myself to set goals, and in order to achieve them, work day in and day out as if that was the last workout you would ever do. And don't complain about things. That was great. Hey, Juan, we don't have a bench to do bench press, and he'll find a 4 by whatever, 2 by 4, and lay it on top of whatever, and we'll have a bench.
Yeah, I think it's funny. It's just sports, military, business, all of it. All of us will always have one or two. Honestly, if we're lucky, just phenomenal mentors and leaders that we've had over time. That we still will always think about either things they said or things they did, or how they approached things and how they made you understand, the proper way to go about things, and not just in that specific instance, but in life. And yeah, it's I was fortunate enough to have a couple of those in the Army, and my father is another phenomenal example for me. But let's not get too sappy.
No,
that is great.
All right, so we'll let's get into Premier League. First of all, I'm a West Ham guy.
Do I?
Yes, I'm a West.
In the world that follows you, Roy, knows what West Ham is. I bet you that 50% of those that follow you on social media, or that know you, or have been to your restaurant and know that you're a West Ham fan, have gone back and have to do research.
Yeah, figure out what West Ham is.
West Ham is. Like, go Hammers. They're like, well, who's playing, MC or what?
Yeah, I did redo a little interior decorating. I actually put a West Ham flag up in the restaurant now. So
I was going to ask you, every time I've walked in, I haven't seen anything that it resembles that place belongs to somebody that likes West Ham.
Yeah, that's new. I got we took the menu boards down. My wife and I took over the restaurant. Like we own it now.
Okay.
And so I did a little redecorating. So now it's kind of right in your face.
The signatures are still there, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. The only thing I did, I pulled down the menu boards and I put flags up.
Okay, that's good. The signatures are still there. I mean, because I was going to ask you if I could be on the signature wall, but you'd never asked me. So
You kidding me? Next time you're in it, how have we not got you on the
I
wall?
don't know. You never asked me that. I feel like really bad. I always go there, and I leave the place, and I tell my wife, "What? Roy doesn't ask me to be on the wall."
Yeah, just keep giving them crap.
What do I need to do?
All right. Well, you know what? I'll portion off the javelin section, and we'll take care of it.
Bring pictures if you tell me. I mean, just
Hey, I'll take a signed picture. I'll put a signed picture on the wall any day.
a poster. I got posters. No, I'm kidding.
There you go. There you go.
All right. Well, Rob here is a Liverpool guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Good for you, Rob. When did you jump on the bus?
Man, so 2013. 2013.
Yeah, because I mean, are you
Yeah.
bandwagon? type of
No,
guy?
not at all. So I jumped on in 2013. Actually, I really wasn't much of a soccer follow until about 2013.
What made it?
And it was mostly A&M women's. That's what really got me in. I started hanging out with what they were called Maroon Militia at the time.
Okay.
And that's what really kind of got me into the soccer culture. So I jumped in with them. American Outlaws. I'm actually the president of American Outlaws Bryan College Station.
Really?
Yes, sir. And
Awesome.
that's kind of been my other project here in town. But yeah, I jumped on with Liverpool in 2013.
Yeah, he's not a bandwagon fan. We had to explain ourselves on one of our podcasts as to why we follow who we follow.
Why did you choose Liverpool in 2013? Because I mean, that's not a season you would say. I mean, it's easy to say 2005, 2007, but
Right. So
they were close to nothing.
yeah. So one of my buddies, his name's Colin. Colin was one of the Maroon Militia guys, and he wanted me to get into Premier League. He said, you need to pick, you kind of figure out who your team's going to be. What are you looking for? And, it said it's 2013. I said, I'm looking for a team that's got, potential to be pretty solid, a really good fan base. Maybe not the best team right now, but they've got some decent history. And just honestly, just kind of a good sized fan base. So I can, it's not super hard to jump in with them, but maybe it's not like the hot team. And he's like, dang it, you're a Liverpool fan, and he's a Chelsea guy. So, so what happened was,
He didn't like you right away when you say, okay, a team
Yeah.
with some history. He crossed off Chelsea right away.
Yeah, exactly. So Chelsea's was out the door. No, so I jumped on with Liverpool, and I had to experience the Gerrard slip. I had to experience all that fun stuff and the agony of having to wait during all the pandemic before they finally won the title. And that was a nice, that was a great feeling. Came over to his house afterwards, and we had champagne till about midnight.
I was happy to be a host. See, that's the thing. Like, you don't ever have to ask a West Ham fan, like, when did you bandwagon on? Like, bandwagon what?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if you ever meet a West Ham fan that goes, dude, we're top of the league. I'm like, you just started following Premier League, didn't you? Like, literally the greatest start we've ever had.
Yeah.
So, you know what though? Top club in London.
Take it.
What this season? I got to tell you this. I mean, you are going to. What are you going to do in April with your fingernails?
Yeah.
This time around, you're going to really have to cut them instead of just biting them because it's been.
Well, I one of the West Ham guys I follow, I hopped on Twitter this morning because it was transfer deadline day today.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's transfer deadline day today.
Have you told your fans what transfer deadline day is and what it really means? It's like it's not as it's not like the NBA trading deadline or the Major League Baseball trading deadline where you really get a lot of good guys going, to really good teams. This is getting people you really have to Wikipedia a lot.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I try and if anybody ever asked me, I try to explain it as it's like the trade deadline in the major leagues, except for you get two of them. And one of them, like the one in the summer is really the big name transfer season. And the one in the winter is really a depth kind of, if you had the opportunity to have a second shot at really building depth for title runs, that's really, I thought it was kind of a quiet transfer day today. Like as far as big names go.
Well, Kabak from Schalke went to Liverpool good
Yep.
defender, 20-year-old Turkish defender.
Saw that.
Yep.
So I do the plug-in promo here, Bundesliga on ESPN Plus.
Yep.
It's $4.99, I think it's ESPN Plus. Or it's worth it. I don't know if you have it, but it's worth it.
Well, yeah, ESPN Plus is big because now with so many Premier League matches being on Peacock, and especially now that we know that NBC Sports Network is going away and it's going to ship directly to all to Peacock, that they still don't have the FA Cup rights. They don't have Bundesliga. So there's a lot of other stuff that the $4.99 a month for ESPN Plus is worth it. And honestly, as long as West Ham's in it, it's worth getting an FA match out of it. I mean, once a month.
FA Cup is fun, and then you get the Bundesliga, Italian Serie A, you get the Copa del Rey. So I do the Bundesliga, and I've followed. I've done quite a few Schalke games, and they're the worst defense in the league, by the way. But Liverpool is signing this kid who's a 20-year-old kid. I'm telling you, this kid, and Matthew Hoppe, who's the American that's scoring goals now, that they just unplugged from an academy that Barcelona has in Arizona. The kid is 19 years old, and nobody knew about him in the States. And all of a sudden he gets signed by Schalke. He's playing in the Bundesliga now and starting for them, just renewed his deal. So most people center their attention there, but Liverpool just signing this kid, I think, is a great steal. Most people don't know of the name of the guy, and they say, "Oh, he's coming from the worst defense in the Bundesliga. He might not amount to anything." But I got to tell you, I do it a lot, quite often, and the kid has got some potential. Not potential, he's good. I mean, he's good.
Yeah. Well, we were just.
So that's not a big name, but it's a good signing. There's an American that went to Swansea. Paul Ariola. Well, I mean, American going to Europe.
But when we picked up Vladimir Sufal, I mean, it wasn't a big signing. We got him for $5 million. I'd never even heard of the guy, and he's probably been outside of Ogbonna, he's been the strongest in our back. Sufal's phenomenal. I'd never even heard of the guy. He's been playing the Czech Republic.
Yeah, and this is where that job is fascinating. I mean, Billy Bean actually helped. I don't know if he was working with Liverpool at some point, but he was at Newcastle for some time in trying to instill the big data
Moneyball.
Moneyball work environment within their scouting system, and that has really found a push over the past 5 years, because not all teams have all the money in the world, like those state-funded teams that we all know about. There's some that really work as a business, and in order to make yourself competitive, you need to make business decisions with sense, and there's a lot of numbers behind the big signings nowadays where do you want to play your ball out of the bag? Do you take a guy that has the most accuracy percentage in long ball passing, or do you take the one that has the most tackles in the middle of the field? There's a lot of variables that go into buying a player nowadays. Some pay attention to that. Some don't even pay attention to the way the kid acts outside of the field. Barcelona bought Ousmane Dembele from Borussia Dortmund for 115 million euros, and nobody studied enough to know that the kid loves to play video games, and he stays up until 5-6 a.m. playing video games. And the kid missed practices, and nobody does that study of course, when it's not their money, they don't do it, right?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I've noticed, and I don't just follow West Ham guys. I follow a lot of stuff around the league, and it's interesting you talk about the Moneyball portion of it, or aspect of it, because I've seen a lot more really just full-blown statistical breakdowns that are just almost all numbers, probably more so in the last year than I have really ever before. And some of these stats I look at and I have to go look up what exactly they're trying to tell me. Like, I don't even understand it.
Yeah, there's expected goals.
Yeah,
I don't much get that, but it's a certain number of variables that are put into place to figure out whether a team needs to have more goals than the ones that they actually score.
right.
So 0-0 draw at halftime, you see expected goals 2-1 from one team is like this team with 2 should have, because of the distance of their shot. And
it has to do. Yeah, once I started bringing distance of shots, I'm like, I'm gonna have to research this a lot more before I.
Having started at ESPN 20 years back, and in Sports Center in Latin America, And growing up in the culture of the sports center in the States, where you add a lot of numbers to kind of augment the fact that you're not just saying that a guy played a good game. You're actually saying that a guy had a triple double, or that a guy had, however many rushing yards
Mhm.
and caught, so many passes or whatever
Shooting
throughout.
percentage, yards after catch, pass completion percentage, which I've seen a lot more emphasis on in the Premier League too. It's really talking about not just possession and goals. You're talking about pass completion,
Mhm.
not just possession time, but what was done with the possession.
Shots on goal.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I enjoy it to an extent, but I remember when they were almost became this stat overload like 10 years ago. Everybody just thought that every stat you could make up ever in the world made sense. And some of it was just like, this guy always scores 20 points if he plays, in the Western time zone and it's a full moon. You're like, I don't need that kind of information.
Yeah, you don't need baseball maybe because you got to fill up time for 180 games, right?
It's true.
Or 162. I don't even know how many they play, but when you think about it, 20 years back, I came with that approach to Sports Center and the Sports Center desk in Latin America, and guys, producers will be telling me, "Dude, don't overload the stats. This is soccer. It's not basketball. Where you can really read a game by just reading the stats.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You read a box score and you kind of get an idea. Not kind of, you get an idea of what happened. Who dominated where? Rebounds and assists and stuff like and steals and stuff like that. In soccer, it's not that way because there's so many uh, subjective things that still make the game an art
Right.
form at
Mhm.
least. Uh, when you think of an assist in the game, an assist in soccer, there's so many other things that happen before an assist could happen.
Right.
Take Liverpool, for example. Now
Mhm.
that everybody knows how they play,
Right.
you get the big three up front. Do you count as an assist for Firmino when Firmino comes out of the box and carries a defender with him? So to free that zone so that Mane or Salah can jump behind the back of a defender and get the pass from Thiago.
Mhm.
Firmino's play is non-existent in the stat world, but it
Mhm.
must have been the most important movement of the game at that point in order for a team to free up the defense, right? So those are the things that make this game that we're talking about, soccer, football, sometimes an art form.
One of the things we always like to say, poetry in motion.
Well, and that's one thing because now, I watch the Premier League mornings. I watch the stuff in between matches. If it's on TV or on Peacock or on it all, like I found myself, I now watch Sky Sports News. Still don't understand cricket, never going to, but um, when they really break down goals and they break down play, what they've started to do with when they show replays and they'll highlight players. And I've seen a lot more of them really, especially the Robbies to talk, and they really show what you're talking about. It's the play off the ball that makes the play.
Hmm.
And it's really one, it's great to watch, and it's great because if I saw it live, I might not have caught it. Just because naturally you follow the ball, in
Exactly.
football, it's easier to see a lot of stuff at once, American football, because it all happens right in here in this box. But, when you're talking about the wide expanse of the pitch, you're going to miss some things that may literally directly tie to a goal being scored or a goal or a run being stopped. And so it's I've enjoyed the way they do that, putting rings on players, and they really have started to do it to where one is somebody who's watched it for a while, but is still relatively new to it. Just been what 11 years, but then also for somebody that's just now getting into it, they're helping to explain the sport. To the one country in the world that where football is a different sport.
Hmm.
So I've really enjoyed all the analysis stuff that's really started to occur more so, or at least is being maybe more widely streamed so we can see it.
I was on the broadcast team that went on to the World Cup in Brazil in 2014,
Mhm.
and I was involved, not directly involved, but around the production team that did uh, the broadcast for ESPN for the 2010 World Cup in South Africa.
Right.
And the language uh, between one and the other changed dramatically when somebody in an office somewhere in the ESPN campus said, let's talk the game as the game is supposed to be talked about, not
Mhm.
try to explain the game. to
Right.
those that are watching, because you're going to tune out those that know the game so much, that are passionate about the game, that don't want to hear what an offside call is, or explain the rules of the game in the middle of a match.
Well, I don't know. I think we circle back.
Dumbing it down, right?
I don't think we understand what offsides is anymore with
Still,
VAR, but
I don't even know what a handball is anymore in
You
soccer.
know,
I don't
there's
even know
no
what the
rules. All the points are made up anyways.
I don't know what VAR does. I don't know anything anymore when it comes to that. But we are passionate about the game, and that is stuff that you have to translate and transfer over to the viewing audience. When you see the Robbies on NBC dissecting a play, it's like going to late '80s and watching Ron Jaworski sit on that film room at
Yep.
ESPN
mhm.
for that NFL's film show they had on Sunday mornings. The game needs something like that. The game, but but not the analysis part, the passion behind
Yeah.
the analysis. And these guys are passionate. I like them, but I like what they do. I know them both, and I love what they do. And I think they do a great job in transferring what the game means, not not explaining what the game is.
Yeah. No, I've enjoyed it. That's one thing where, as I watch, what's the argument that you always hear, out of Americans, "Well, how can you watch something for an hour and a half and nothing to nothing?" I'm like,
Because it lasts an hour and a half.
Right.
well, yeah. Well, also
Yeah.
because, that score line and it can in no way be indicative of the match.
Exactly.
Just because it should show you how difficult it is to score.
I know a good friend of mine is assistant coach for a team in the Premier League, and we've had discussions over what the game is, why we call a a good game, other than just the scoreboard. Why was it a good game? And his idea, not idea, but the way he explains it to me is that I call the games. I'm a play-by-play guy, so I'm following whoever is following the ball and those that might surround him, right? I don't see what's happening away from the ball.
Right.
And
Mhm.
sometimes when we see that there's nothing happening in the game, there's a lot of other things happening around that we're not able to see. And that's enjoyable. That's the people. It's a click. It's going to click one day that you start seeing the game in a wider, not just whatever's on the TV, or
Mhm.
not whoever's just carrying the ball. You get to see everything. You get to
No.
see all the movements. Because if you think about it, in football, in American, I'm trying not trying to compare, but I'm doing it. In American football, you get a player has three or four options to choose from throughout the game. Receiver might run straight, break right, break left, or run 5 yards and come back to the quarterback. And lineman has three or four things that he can do during the game. There's no set design for what a player can do on the field, except for understanding what his 10 other teammates are doing.
Mhm.
It's a
It's a
uh,
natural flow and it's an unstopped flow.
exactly. It's a but it's like a being. A team is a being.
Like,
Mhm.
Is that is interconnected by a purpose to score a goal on the other side. But everybody has to move accordingly and within the lines of that purpose and intention. It's You can get deep into it. I'm telling you, if you can get philosophical about soccer with
it,
and just drinking water, I'm telling you, you'll
it
love the game.
it's a beautiful sport.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's run down now. Now we have to dive directly into your professional side of this. All right. Well, and we'll kind of go quick on the Premier League because I don't want to just focus on Premier League.
Hmm.
But who's winning?
City.
Okay.
And why? If you need an argument, City's got more depth, I think,
Sure.
and uh, and they know how to win. I think United have a good squad. They they're limited in the idea that they bring to the table. Liverpool are limited squad wise because of all the injuries, and I think nobody has really uh, come to appreciate how hard it is to go back-to-back seasons like Liverpool did in finishing second to City 2 seasons ago, and then the strain of having to hold on to that lead last season with everything that happened. I think that's taken a toll physically and mentally on a lot of players. And Jurgen Klopp is not a coach that would coach for 6 or 7 years at the same squad, and he's approaching that.
Mm-hmm. You're not wrong.
Oh, well, it
Yeah.
might be. They might win, and then you'll say, "Well, you were wrong."
Well, yeah, you know.
Well, I mean,
I won't cry about it.
right now, the form that City is in is kind of ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
They just,
Same one they were last year, except for they were missing a couple of players. Bernardo Silva is back.
well, and Liverpool was just on such a rocket ride last year, point to the top of the table. It was fascinating to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Who finishes top four? Let's talk about Champions League and Europa.
Ooh.
So obviously City.
So I'm saying City.
You think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can keep United up?
I was going to place United in fourth.
Think they'll finish fourth?
Yeah. So City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and United.
Arsenal.
They're gonna make a run. There you go.
I mean, like, they're trying to figure it out.
I think they have. I mean, he had I think Arteta has to come to simplify his idea.
Mm-hmm.
There was a banner the other day they showed before the match. Arsene Wenger, football has to be an art or something like that.
Mm.
The big banner. That's what they play. That's what they're trying to achieve. But Arteta can't do that in the first or second year, especially with the players he has. Yeah, it's got to be more direct.
Sure.
I'm kind of hoping they make a run.
You think Leicester stays up around 5?
I don't think they do. No.
No.
I'll give you guys a spot in the Europa League, though. I'll give West Ham a chance in the
I
Europa
don't
League.
know. Why? Like I was trying to say earlier, like it's transfer deadline day, but for West Ham fans, it's just Monday. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have a striker. We literally don't have a striker. Antonio sits as a striker, but we got nobody behind him. So
I'd like to see Tottenham stay out of the bigs of the.
I'd like to see Tottenham relegated, but that's just personal.
But our Tottenham buddies, who are all going to be listening to this.
Well,
podcast.
and it's seriously like if you're in Texas and you're a Premier League fan, you're a Tottenham fan because the Spurs. That's the only connection I can make. So it just makes it obnoxious.
They have Bale. I mean, they brought a golfer in.
well, we were actually talking a little earlier. It's going to be interesting to see how they perform over the next 2 to 3 weeks, though, with Kane, because Kane and Son up top is such a lethal, duo.
But that's it. That's all they do.
You're right.
But if it's just Son, what happens?
Did they get rid of Dele Alli? I missed that. If they did or not. But the guy came out one time out of the tunnel. He goes, using other language, right? He goes, it's just long ball and defense. That's it. That's all it is. That's all it is. So they make for a great documentary and a nice behind the scenes thing, but you have to aspire for more. You have to aspire to. There's no fans in the stands, right? So this analogy is not going to work, or this line is not going to be work nowadays. But fans pay to go into the stadiums to go watch a team win games, right? If all they do is try to push luck, and have fans sitting on the edge of their seats, some fans are going to be saying, I can't stand this anymore. I need to go and enjoy the match.
Well, you know how the hooligans are. You'll have a revolt on your hands. We're sitting 5th in the league, and you got people talking about burning down the gates because we didn't sign anybody on transfer deadline day.
There's very little money out there too.
Yeah.
Very little money, and teams have lost at least 25% of their revenue because they're lacking gate receipts.
Right.
It's not just gate receipts; it's really the vending, and that was an interesting point I was listening to. It's called West Ham Fan TV. There's some bloggers. They do a phenomenal job. They were talking about the thing that's different about West Ham, though, is West Ham, part of the deal with the stadium was that they would give up the catering and vending. So by not having matches there, they're not missing that money. They never got it to begin with. So really it's only ticket sales. So, when you're talking about you sell Diangana, you sell Haller you send him to Ajax because we spent $45 million for him to just be worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to listen when you got the money for these players that you don't have any money. And
Yeah.
so, and I get that money's down across the league, but apparently not. Like, and some of these moves can be made. You know, and again, you talked about the business decision part of it. We don't. Our board doesn't run anything like a business or anything. It's just like their personal little fun club that they get to brag about having a Premier League club. And I don't think they're long for it either. I think they're just trying to sell and get out. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
They got one of the best traditions in blowing bubbles. Got to be one of the best traditions.
Oh, yeah.
If we finish like champions or Europa this year, I'm going to buy an industrial bubble machine for my backyard. I got a new neighbor. He's a Man United fan across the street. So,
Oh boy.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's been nice. The only time I've actually seen him outside was the day after Man U got like pummeled. It was some. I was like, "Hey, how's it going, buddy?" But
That's great. But back in my time, I had to get a subscription to the Dallas Morning News because that's the only place I could get the box scores and standings for soccer before the advent of internet. The Dallas Morning News Monday's paper had the box scores in the back page.
I love how many options we do have for sports now. Yeah. I mean, I have the Olympic channel on my television, and I watched downhill slalom the other day and bobsled. I love this stuff.
I've watched the World Fencing Championships.
Yeah.
You know, the other day, and 2 days ago, I was watching the semifinals for the World Handball Championship. Great sport, by the way, which I don't know why it hasn't picked up here that much.
Talk about team handball?
Team handball, yeah.
That sport is awesome.
It's got everything. It's got a high scoring. If you know, Americans complain about soccer being, 1-0 thrillers. This is 35-34 non-stop thing. I mean, goalie saving is an art. It's like unheard of. It's like a goalie saving a goal is like a home run in baseball,
Yeah, it's like you have to be a gymnast to be goalie on team handball. I love it.
And they hit each other hard, and it's physical. It's back and forth. It's a great sport. But yeah, you're right. We can watch everything. And
it's crazy. It's basically ESPN 8 in real life. Like we got all the different sports. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Track. You talk about track. I had a hard time finding track back in my day. We used to, run tapes, like run down tapes, just because of how many times we watched them over and over and over, because that was the only tape I had of a track meet. It might have been a year-old track, but now I get option to watch everything online. Our home meets online.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, our teams are both looking great.
Oh yeah.
A&M's track teams are both looking awesome.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
all the clips going viral.
Who did?
All the clips going viral with that freshman on the women's team. Unbelievable the gear she has.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Unreal.
And Bryce Deadman in the quarter mile. We're looking at future Olympic medalists there.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Donovan Brazier. I mean, he's not with us anymore with A&M, but a world champion and a possible Olympic medal in the.
He'll always be an Aggie.
He's always going to be an Aggie. I'm hoping.
So we can point when he's competing on the Olympic channel on NBC, like that dude's representing Texas A&M.
Exactly. So we're doing good that way.
All right. Well, we'll tell you. We gone. I don't want to hold you too much longer. We went a lot longer. I could talk all night about this.
I'm here.
I want to talk a little bit about kind of your perception and obviously a very educated perception on the differences between and really we can. I was going to say 3 leagues, but we can include Serie A in there if you want. Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga. What are really the characteristics of those leagues that you see that make the style of play different? When you see players go from one league to another and they struggle to adjust, obviously it's a difference in style of play, like as a league.
There used to be stereotypes in a country's way of playing football. You used to think the Germans were all athletic and physical, that the English were all about crosses, finding deep runs and crosses, that the Italians were dirty and defensive. that the French, nobody cared about watching French, so they
Still
didn't even
don't.
grow a stereotype that the I'm just kidding, by the way. No, but the French were all about, elegance and flair and champagne style football that never amounted to anything
Mhm.
when they put a team together. That the Spaniards were more passionate and tactically oriented than most. Those have gone out the window. Those stereotypes are being washed out when you get, a Spaniard coaching a team that finishes almost a perfect season in England, and a German coach in a team that breaks a 30-year spell in at
Mhm.
Liverpool, and you get Spanish coaches in Italy and Italian coaches in France and French coaches in Spain with Zidane at Real Madrid. So those stereotypes are washed away and have been, uh, I guess, diluting in people's minds over the past 10, 15 years, where what you don't lose is the culture of a league. A league is the product of its history, and those are things you can't wash away. The fans are expecting something of a Premier League game every time they go into the stands when they get a chance. In Spain is the same thing, Italy is the same thing, and it's the culture that surrounds the league that makes them special and unique to each other. It's so hard to compare one to the other, uh, because some are playing similar football. You think about teams in Italy that mid-table teams that are playing the style of Barcelona's great years type of football, and German teams that want to play that way too, and English teams that play the way that Borussia Dortmund played when Jurgen Klopp was coaching them. So you get a mix of a lot of styles in every league, but what you can't replace is the culture that surrounds the teams that you're talking about. There's the culture that has built English football to be what it is. They created the laws of the game, so they have a great respect for the game, even more so, I guess, and they'd rather win the Premier League than the European title
Mhm.
in England.
Mhm.
And it happens with every club that the way they love and caress, I guess, their product is amazing. In Spain, there's a much bigger appreciation, I guess, for the way models of play and formations are set than some other leagues. Italy, you learn to appreciate that there's no better, yeah, tactically oriented teams than the Italians, and the games are really interesting because they are chess matches at some point, and then it's the way the leagues are organized and the way they're modeled, right? The biggest uh, economy in Europe and the most capitalist society in Europe, the Germans are the most socialist model there is in sport
Mhm.
Hmm.
in the Bundesliga, because they all care for each other. There's equal distribution of TV rights. There's very little difference when it comes to distributing the money to those that have won more games than others that have lost, a lot more games. So there is an interest for everybody to build the league, and not just one or two teams, overshadowing the rest that you can have in Madrid or in Barcelona. So when you think about all the way they're organized, if you ask me what's the best model out there, I would tell anybody that's trying to form the ideal business model for a soccer league to look at the Germans and the way they do it. They were the first ones to come back after the confinement of the pandemic, right? They were
Sure.
the first ones to kick off, and they
Oh
came
yeah,
out.
everybody was trying to figure out like, all right, who's my
How do
Bundesliga?
we're gonna do it? Yeah, and the Germans did it first.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, I can't say I watched my first Bundesliga matches because they were the only ones running.
Yeah, everybody was watching them. Everybody, even in England. I mean, Bundesliga matches were rating higher than most Premier League matches, but that was the, the people were craving to watch the
Mhm.
Yeah.
sports, right? And
Yeah.
the Bundesliga did a great job in taking advantage of that fact. They understood that they were coming out the gates before anybody else. So they try to instill in those 2 3 weeks that they had an advantage over the rest, a little bit of what they're about. I don't know who picked up on it, but I'm sure most people saw more Bundesliga matches in those 2 weeks than they had in the 2 years prior.
No, I mean there were things going viral that were quizzes like, okay, so this is the only sports league going on right now.
Yeah.
Answer the questions and we'll tell you who to root for.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. What team should I follow, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
And the teams did a great job too, like trying to reach out there to fans that were not even familiar with Bundesliga, but familiar with soccer.
Yep.
And to that, I work closely with the guys at the press office at the Bundesliga, and they do a great job in reaching out and making their product available to the, we were competing, and this is everybody. This includes all sports. All sports are competing with so many other things. It's the in an age of distraction, right? Who stands out over the rest?
Sure.
How we're going to, because it's not that gymnastics is competing with swimming and track. It's that they're competing with football, baseball, uh, team handball, Fortnite,
Mhm.
and whatever else is going on. TikTok making machines out there in the streets. They'd rather spend 90 minutes making a TikTok video that lasts 90 seconds than watch a 90-minute soccer game or the FIFA game, for example.
Sure.
I can't get my son to watch a soccer game with me, but he'll play 20 soccer games and 20 soccer video games, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I am happy to report that West Ham has made the Champions League in 7 straight seasons for me. So
And you're probably taking a picture of that too once it comes out with all the graphics and West Ham walking in with the Champions League trophy, right?
nobody will even believe I could do it on FIFA. But hey, man, we'll go and close up. It's starting to get a little late. I know you're an hour ahead of us. But man, I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Oh yeah.
I've been looking forward to this since you and I talked about it. I would love to hear your opinion on the pay for play system that we have for youth soccer in the United States. But I feel like that's a whole nother conversation. Maybe you and I'll have offline because it's
we talked about Matthew Hope, right? It costs about $75,000 to get into that academy in Arizona.
Wow.
it's disgusting. Everywhere else in the world, all you need is a ball.
But it's working. Some are saying that it's working. Because you think about how many players or how many American players are abroad, how many American players are now, landing in top tier soccer teams.
Right.
My gauge for it working is the success of the men's national team.
Yeah, we'll see when that happens.
Fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
So anyways, like I said, I don't think it's working.
Yeah, and you mentioned you started following the game because of the Aggie women's soccer team, right?
That's right.
Roy and I have a crusade that I want to make good use of this platform to uh, give it a little push. We're trying to get the Aggie women's soccer team's jersey.
All right.
I don't know if it's sold or out there. I don't want it to see in academies or at the MSC bookstore. I
Sure.
want it in my closet.
Okay.
Yes.
So how do we get?
So I tweeted about it at one point. This is back when Emmett Smith's daughter was on the team. He retweeted and picked it up.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to take people with more of your push to tweet at them, as opposed to me.
How do we do it? How do we get Ross Bjork to just come up with some Excel versions of the shirt for
Sure.
big guys, and I want to see that hoop maroon.
Well,
and
yeah,
I
white
love the
or-
hoops.
Yeah, the ringers. I'm telling you, if they put out a line of the ringers, they would be surprised how many they would sell.
No
I
doubt.
bet you. I don't think they have an idea of how many fans are out there that would love to have that sweatshirt in their
Me too.
You should consider tweeting at Ross Bjork because he answers tweets, and he'll certainly answer one from a famous.
Right. How about we live tweet this one right here?
Do it.
So I'm putting dot at Ross. Okay, just finishing. Come on, guys, give me some dictate. Just finishing the podcast.
Fish podcast with Red Ass Podcast, and
Roy.
myself and former Yale leader. I've met him a couple times. Not that I've left any sort of lasting impression on him.
And we came to thinking,
we
where
come to the conclusion that we need to get with Adidas, and I tagged them too.
Yeah, Adidas.
We need to get with Adidas, and we need Aggie women's soccer kits.
Yeah, replica kit.
Or maybe jerseys.
Yeah,
maybe don't say kits.
Yeah, replica. Yeah, you don't want to see me in those shorts.
that we're So we came to the conclusion that we're still looking. No, we can't even
anxious.
write a tweet.
We're still anxiously awaiting the release. Yeah, of the Aggie women's soccer
jerseys,
or hoop jerseys, or ringer jerseys.
Wow.
Okay.
I would easily buy one. I'd probably buy the keeper one too.
The release of the. Okay.
Yeah, make sure you tag Aggie women's soccer in it too.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
We will retweet that.
Yeah.
Soccer. I follow Aggie soccer, but it's not coming up.
Yeah, I think it's just
Aggie, it's just Aggie soccer.
Yep.
And I gotta tell you, I gotta come clean here as well. My spell thingamajig is in Spanish, so anxiously is kind of giving me a hard time, but I'm
Much
right. So we're still. Conclusion is with one S, right?
Conclusion,
yeah,
yes.
one S.
Yeah, concussion is with two.
That's probably what I got. That I can't even write conclusion.
What was that?
This is dynamite.
Mercy. We'll wait for your.
Wait for your reply. They'll reply.
All right, just posted it.
All right. Yeah,
Most of my followers are gonna go, "What is he talking about?"
Yeah, who the hell is no?
Yeah, that's.
All right, man.
We're doing it.
Dude, you have a wonderful evening. You tell your family I said howdy. I hope they're all doing well.
They're going, Dad, you're going on a podcast. It's 8 p.m. Who you doing it with? I go, it's with Roy. And they're looking at me, Roy? Yeah, Roy.
That guy.
We're gonna, this is for you guys to get your Thursday night barbecue pulled pork, potato, what is it? Baked potato?
Barbecue stuffed baked potatoes?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It
anytime
only comes out on Thursday. This is so you guys can have it on a Friday.
Look, they're on the menu every day now. So next time you come in town, we will have some for you.
Are they?
Yes. So every day.
Jeez, I thought it was something special. But whenever they come in, just tell them that you made them exclusively to them for that day, whatever day it is.
Absolutely.
And this year we're gonna see each other a lot. I'm hoping to hit a track meet, and I'm going to a football game. So the schedule came out the other day, right? So I blasted it to my two kids on their phones and my wife. And I have three kids, but my daughter doesn't have a cell phone, and she ain't allowed to have one until she goes to college. She's not having one.
I like it.
So I sent the schedule out, and my next question is, which game do you guys want to go to? And my son replies, Mississippi State. Is that good? He said, yeah, it's a good game, but why? We're playing Alabama at home. He goes, yeah, Dad, I knew that, but I don't want to see you mad.
Oh,
so
awesome.
So I go, dude, this year we stand a better chance. So
tell him I said I'll be really happy for him when he gets his phone back after he's done being grounded.
I'm pushing my buttons to go to Alabama game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I don't blame you. Hey, when you come in town, if you end up coming in for more than one game, or if it's a track weekend or something, if you come in kind of for a one-off, let me know. I know I've got between the two of us, we have a handful of Premier League fans here in town. I'm sure they'd love to meet you if you wouldn't mind doing a little.
No, not at all. That'd be great.
Awesome.
That'd be great. Times have changed. I mean, I live in the Northeast, right? And
sure.
When it's been 16 years since I've lived here, and there's no way you could watch a soccer game in the morning. Like we've talked about this not too long ago, but one day I was over at the butcher shop and they had a Liverpool match on at 10 a.m.
Yep.
And they don't have it. They didn't have it just to decorate the wall.
Mm-hmm.
They were watching it. and I'm telling you, the following of the game has increased tremendously here,
No
and
doubt.
you can really test that by when you guys live in a permanent summer, but our summer when we go out, you see more and more kids
Mhm.
wearing soccer jerseys because they're a
It's
fashion.
exposure.
They're,
It's all the exposure.
it's a status, it's
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
they show themselves up as knowledgeable and worldly,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's a conversation starter, and I love it. I'd love to have uh, not played any single part in it, but to be able to witness it. And
No doubt.
the fact that we
Yeah.
spent more time talking about soccer than the Aggie football team says a lot about how much the game has grown. By the way, our team is gonna kick some good.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah.
But
If you want to come back on some point, we can talk Aggie football all day too.
yeah, I don't know about I'm telling you, that's the team. If you ask me, what's your team? What's the team that takes away that it's able to manipulate your mood?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's Aggie football.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've gotten better because like 2 years as being a yell leader, I couldn't be like in a super poopy head mood,
Yep.
when they were playing poorly because I just wasn't allowed to do it. So that helped, but I still get, yeah, they can alter my weekends. Not as much as they used to though. Like
Yeah, one question to you guys: which time slot do you prefer? The noon games or the 7 o'clock games?
Oh, night game. Every day of the week.
night games. Yeah, absolutely the night games. I don't care for 11 a.m. kicks at all. I mean, just because one, it's probably going to be a crappy opponent.
Probably.
Like I either want the 2:30 CBS slot or I want the 6:30 slot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
the 6:30. If we play a bad game, I have a tough night sleeping. That's why.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I can't get over it. By 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I'll be tired of being pissed off. So
Right.
just go to bed.
The problem is like if you play 11 a.m. kick and you lay a stinker, it's ruined the rest of your day.
It's true.
That Vanderbilt game almost ruined our season. That was the first day. Well, let's talk about something else.
So you can go out, be an international football broadcaster, and Aggie football still at the core. See, there you go.
There you go.
Well, I always talk about it. Listen, when I used to call the games, Mexican national team games, it was Johnny Football's time, right? And
Uh-huh.
anytime I could lay my hands, not my hands, but anytime I'd find a spot to
Squeeze one
plug in Johnny Football's name in there, I would do it.
That's awesome.
Love it.
I'd do it.
Well, tell you what, A&M can use a whole bunch more great ambassadors like you. That's for sure.
Well, it's a great responsibility. It's a great honor, and I take it with big pride too.
Awesome.
I love it.
Hey, we
Thank
appreciate
you guys.
You have a wonderful evening. And then, we'll try and link up when you get to College Station.
Definitely.
Gag 'em.
Yeah, sir.
Thanks so much.